There is a fast unfolding crisis in Ivory Coast right now. Over the last 48 hours, about 60 people have been feared dead as the clashes intensified in the key areas of the capital. The uprising started as a result of widespread dissatisfaction with the president of the country. The man is accused of severe human rights abuses, increasing poverty, and maintaining close ties with the Western influence, which is the long-standing source of national resentment. There are no official confirmation yet due to the internet and the communication system and the media system being shut down in the country. There is a claim that the president of the country is either gone missing, arrested, or possibly dead.
It is my belief that there is some type of revolution bubbling under the surface in the continent of Africa right now. And the sharp end of this revolution today is happening in Ivory Coast. There are unconfirmed reports of a military coup. In this video, we're going to go through the information that is available to us right now as it's unfolding. And if you're interested in that, stay tuned. For those of you that don't know, my name is TJ, and on this channel, we talk about African geopolitics. So this is a guy by the name of Big Shy 411 who put this out just a few hours ago.
Gunshot is echoing across the capital of Ivory Coast, Abidjan, in what had been described as the early stage of a military coup or large scale of civil uprising, based on the report we are getting from the citizens and also on social media. There is a fast unfolding crisis in Ivory Coast right now. The government has shut down the internet and all news transmission system across the country just to contain the mayhem that is unfolding in the country right now. Over the last 48 hours, about 60 people have been feared dead as the clashes intensified in the key areas of the capital. The uprising started as a result of widespread dissatisfaction with the president of the country. The man is accused of severe human rights abuses, increasing poverty, and maintaining close ties with the Western influence. France, I suppose you guys know, which is the long-standing source of national resentment. From me, Big Shy, okay, let me be clear with this. Let me just remind you that there are no official confirmation yet due to the internet and the communication system and the media system being shut down in the country. However, there are speculation on social media platforms across the world, especially on Twitter. There is a claim that the president of the country is either gone missing, arrested, or possibly dead. No public appearances or official statement had been made since the violence started. The violence didn't start today. I think it started about 2 days ago, apparently. Now, this is now making the speculation of, the president gone more likely. But like I said, there are no official confirmation. Let me just remind you, this is not the first time Ivory Coast would encounter instability in their country. We have the 1999 coup. We have the civil war between 2002 and 2007. And then it picked up again from 2010 to 2011. And then we have the military immunity that took place in 2017. Today's event is not a surprise at all to most of us, However, it raises the fear of a full civil war in the country. And this is something they don't need right now. They don't need that right now. The citizens accused the president of being Western puppet, being the puppet of Western powers, particularly France and the United States, with growing criticism aimed at the recent expansion of AFRICOM, He expanded the presence of African in the region. If you don't know what African means, look it up. At the time I was making this video, Big Shy, at the time I was making this update, the communication and the internet system in the Ivory Coast is still down. And please, I beg you, there are no verified information being published yet by the state authority or any government official in Ivory Coast. Nothing is confirmed or published yet. But one thing that is confirmed is that, from the citizens of the country, is that the army chief was shot dead during a meeting with the president or after a meeting with the president. That is the only confirmed information we got so far. The army chief was shot dead. Nothing else had been said. This is a developing event and there are rumors all over the place, as you would expect.
So if you search Ivory Coast on Twitter right now, there are several posts. You got this one over here, you got this one over here, and it just keeps going. And I think it's not responsible really for me to show you all of these, because some of these are old footage. People are just reposting. We don't know exactly what is true right now. But you have this: gunfire, chaos and coup rumors. Ivory Coast on the brink as uprising rocks Abidjan. And we've got Tanzania Times reporting, where is the Ivory Coast president right now?
Ivory Coast is grappling with reports of a potential military coup, with conflicting reports regarding the whereabouts of the country's president. Some unverified claims are suggesting that President Alassane Ouattara could have either been kidnapped, killed, or fled from the country amid the chaotic developments. The unrest reportedly began on May 19, 2025, escalating with violent clashes on May 20, during which the chief of army staff was allegedly shot and later died in hospital. Social media accounts describe intense gun battles with hundreds of soldiers loyal to Ouattara reportedly killed, leaving the country in disarray. However, conflicting reports assert no coup has occurred and the president, Ouattara, remains in power, preparing for the October 2025 election. Public sentiment in Ivory Coast reflects deep frustration with Ouattara's leadership. An Ivorian refugee in Ghana described widespread suffering, accusing Ouattara of treating the country like his family property and neglecting citizens' welfare. He highlighted economic instability, stating, "You can start a business, and one day you will lose everything," underscoring the challenges driving many to flee amid political turmoil. Opposition leaders have long criticized Ouattara, accusing him of human rights abuses and manipulating elections, with some labeling his actions a constitutional and electoral coup d'état in August 2024. Ouattara, who has been ruling the country since 2011, has overseen periods of relative stability, but faces accusations of authoritarianism and exacerbating ethnic divisions. The withdrawal of French forces from Ivory Coast, announced in December 2024, has added to the ongoing tensions, with some speculating it weakened the regime's security apparatus. The country's history of violence, including the 2010-2011 crises that resulted in the deaths of over 3,000 people after a disputed election, fuels fears of renewed conflict. As of May 21, 2025, the situation remains volatile, with no official confirmation of a coup or Ouattara's whereabouts. The international community is watching closely as Ivory Coast teeters on the brink of potential chaos, with citizens and observers divided over whether this marks a genuine uprising or politically motivated unrest.
Here is another publication putting out similar information.
Rumours were rife in Côte d'Ivoire on Wednesday about unconfirmed reports of a military coup amid high political tensions that have engulfed the West African country. Social media reports sparked alarm, with claims of alleged significant violence and internet disruptions fueling speculations that President Alassane Ouattara had either been captured and killed by the coupists or he had fled the county. Over 33 deaths were reported between May 19 and 20 amid a media blackout and widespread unrest that could escalate into civil war. Despite the huge concern about the coup, all the major channels have not reported news about the coup at the time of filing this report on Wednesday night. At the time of filing this report, the Ivorian embassy in Abuja was yet to react to the rumour, but an Ivorian source from the ECOWAS parliament in Abuja, who does not want his name in print, dismissed the rumoured coup as fake news. On May 14, 2025, Africa Global Logistics announced a €60 million investment in inland logistics to strengthen the country's transport infrastructure. This move aligns with Ivory Coast's robust economic growth, averaging over 6% annually in recent years, and its ambition to enhance connectivity across West Africa. A coup at this time could roll back this achievement and could once again endanger the country's political landscape amid the expectation of a coming election in October 2025. This coup, if confirmed, could dent the reputation of the country, which has been relatively stable since the crisis of 2010, and may strengthen the surge of military takeover of democratic governments in West Africa. The region is still grappling with coups in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, which have prompted the three countries to pull out of the regional bloc ECOWAS. However, the country's recent stability and economic progress suggest a complex situation rather than an immediate descent into chaos. Authorities have not commented on the alleged coup, and until credible evidence emerges, the claims on X remain speculative. But eyes are on Côte d'Ivoire as events unfold.
So if you notice, some of the key elements are that over 33 people have already died. The chief of the army has been killed. The whereabouts of the president is not known. I think there's something notable here in what the gentleman Big Shy stated, talking about the relations with France and particularly the United States. He mentioned AFRICOM, and AFRICOM is Africa Command, America's initiative to engage in Africa through military programs. If you're paying attention to anything happening in the African geopolitical scene, you will know that Michael Langley has had a couple of very bad PR moments, particularly calling out Ibrahim Traore a few weeks ago, and a few months earlier than that, being confronted by a senator in the United States who has accused him of training African leaders that have gone on to commit military coups. The speculation being that America is performing regime change operations, which is where they put someone that is trained by them, that is friendly to the United States, that would allow the United States to do what they want to do in terms of extracting resources and implementing America's best interests in a country. And this type of situation has been highly unpopular.
And what percentage of the people we've trained end up participating in insurrections or coups against their own government?
Very small number, Congressman, very small number.
So what percentage do you think?
I'd say probably less than 1%.
But it does happen.
The IMET program is in force, and we've pushed a significant number through our schools across the
and what data sets do you track to arrive at the conclusion that less than 1% of the roughly 50,000 that we've trained have participated in coups? Because it'd be like about 500, about 1% of 50,000.
Congressman, you may have that information. I don't at this time, but I know.
Well, I know there are some, right? Like go ahead and throw up that image. This is Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, and this is a photo of him. Did we train and equip him in Guinea?
By name, I cannot identify that.
Well, that guy in the middle with the big red hat, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, that's him with a bunch of U.S. service members outside of our embassy. And just months after this photo was taken in 2021, he led a coup in Guinea and threw out the leader. Does that concern you?
As I'm sure many of you know, Ibrahim Traore has had many attempts on his life, and the last attempt, which happened at the end of last month, April 2025, official statements have come out by the Burkina Faso government that Ivory Coast was actually harboring, aiding and abetting those that try to kill Ibrahim Traore. They've said this publicly, and it's been reported on. Here we have an article from the BBC, and you can see down here.
The maneuver was to culminate, according to the terrorist plotters' plan, on Wednesday, 16 April 2025 in an assault on the presidency of Burkina Faso by a group of soldiers recruited by the nation's enemies, he said. The brains outside the country are all located in Ivory Coast, he added, naming in particular 2 former army officers believed to be behind the plot. He said sensitive information was passed on to terrorists to increase attacks on the military and civilians and incite a revolt against the authorities.
The kicker to all of these allegations is during this period when the assassination attempt happened to Ibrahim Traore, AFRICOM Command, Michael Langley, was in Ivory Coast at that time performing a military operation. Again, this was highly unpopular. You see, AFRICOM have their own website and they talk about what they're doing on the continent of Africa.
General Langley engages with leaders in Côte d'Ivoire. Marine Corps Gen. Michael Langley, Commander of US Africa Command, travelled to Côte d'Ivoire April 24-25 to meet with Ivorian leaders and deliver remarks at the opening ceremony of Flintlock 25, the Command's annual Combined Special Operations exercise. At the opening ceremony, General Langley highlighted the importance of joint exercises like Flintlock in enhancing the readiness and lethality of participating forces. He emphasized that this increased capability is crucial for deterring terror organizations and other malign actors operating from Africa. Later, Langley and US Ambassador Jessica Davis-Barr met with Côte d'Ivoire's Minister of Defense Tene Birahima Ouattara and Chief of Defense Staff LT Gen. Lassina Downbeer. The leaders discussed security cooperation opportunities to counter transnational threats and emphasized Côte d'Ivoire's role as a security leader in the region. AFRICOM is one of 7 US geographic combatant commands responsible for military engagement across 53 African nations. Working with partners and allies, the command counters malign actors and transnational threats, responds to crises, strengthens African security forces, and supports US government efforts in Africa to advance US national interests and promote regional security, stability, and prosperity.
Working with partners and allies, the command counters malign actors. So, is Ibrahim Traoré a malign actor? One of the speculations is that they tried to bribe one of Ibrahim Traoré's closest soldiers, who was supposedly told to execute him as he prayed. So when these types of stories go out on social media, and then you have a country filled with people that are frustrated, they're not economically successful, they feel betrayed, images like this circulate on social media with the president, with the AFRICOM Command smiling at the same time as speculation is happening against a president of another country that you think is doing the right thing. This is a recipe for revolution. I believe this is one step of many steps that we're going to see, where if you want to be a leader of a nation in the continent of Africa, you are going to have to align with the sentiments of Ibrahim Traoré. You're not going to be able to get away with what happened in the past unless that president or that leader is extremely heavy-handed and rules with an iron fist. People are going to revolt against these people. We're seeing this speculation happening in pockets in different parts of Africa, including Nigeria, where we saw protests in solidarity of Ibrahim Traoré and the government actually stepping in to quell those protests. And of course, you can draw a direct line between that and the interests of that individual or that group of elites versus what the people are actually experiencing on ground. This is an unfolding situation. We don't know all the facts. I will endeavor to keep on top of all of the facts and keep putting out any information that is useful knowledge for people to understand what's happening right now. There's an old saying that the revolution will not be televised. Right now, the internet is having a blackout in Ivory Coast, but you cannot hold back the internet. A revolution, at least in the minds of the people of Africa, is definitely happening right now. Let's hope that violence is kept to a minimum and lives are not lost. If you have something to say, please put it in the notes. If you have any information or links, I would love to know about it. If you have nothing to say, please just put the words "changing times" in the comments section. It lets me know that you watched the video to the end, you like what I'm doing, and you want me to continue. Thanks so much for watching this video today, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.